Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my February 2026 reading wrap-up. If you're not already aware, I do weekly entertainment wrap-ups of everything I read, watch, and listen to. But today we're just talking about the books and mostly the stats from February. I'm going to start with my nerdy hardcore stats and charts and then to get into what I read. However, I've recently changed up how I'm doing these videos. It used to be that I do all my stats and charts and then I would give you a detailed wrap-up of everything I read this month. However, like I already said, I do my weekly entertainment wrap-ups, which means I've already talked about every single one of these books, which means that down in the description I'm going to tell you where I talk about each of these books. So if you only want to hear about one or two of them and you haven't watched those videos already, you're going to know exactly which video to go to hear me talk about every single book. This way I'm still providing my reading data, which I really like doing, but there's no way to do that in a weekly format. That wouldn't be totally weird. And I'm still listing what I read in order that I enjoyed it. But now I don't have to give lengthy wrap-ups and it doesn't take forever to film these videos anymore. Also, I put chapter markers in all of my videos, so if you need to skip over anything or go back to anything, all of that is down below. While you're checking that out, make sure that you're subscribed because sometimes YouTube likes to unsubscribe people just for funsies, and hit that bell notification so you might actually get notified when I upload. Hitting that like is also nice, and I've heard about this hyping thing. I have no idea if you're able to do that on my channel, but if you are, go for it. As a reminder, I will also be updating my bingo board from hell as well as what I read for the prompts for Read Queer all year at the end of the video, so stick around for that. In February, I read 17 things for a total of 5,234 pages. That takes into account converting audiobook minutes to pages, so about 3,304 of those pages were actually about 94 hours of audio. The age breakdown for these books was 14 adult books, 2 middle grade books, and 1 YA book. I read 13 novels and 4 anthologies. This month, the biggest chunk of what I read was nonfiction, followed by romance, historical fiction, horror, mystery thriller, fantasy, and one each from sci-fi, spec fic, classic, and contemporary. If you adjust by page count, not too much changes. All of these books were from the library, so this pie chart looks weird. I read 11 audiobooks, 3 hardcovers, and 3 paperbacks. About half of my books were in the 300 to 399 page range, and the majority were published this decade. I read more women than men authors this month, with 1 non-binary author, and protagonists were similarly divided. In terms of setting, almost half were set in the US, but I also had reads set in other worlds, Canada, and the UK. In terms of diversity of subject matter, a big chunk didn't have any to speak of, but there were queer and intersectional reads as well as reads to do with race and disability. In terms of star ratings this month, I had 2 2.5 star reads, 2 3.5 star reads, 5 4-star reads, 4 4.5 star reads, and 4 5-star reads. Let's start with our lowest rated read and work our way up to the highest, shall we? The first book is one that I feel like is a prank that people play on the reading community. That's Wuthering Heights. This book is friggin' terrible. Firstly, the characters just tell you what terrible things they're going to do, and then the characters don't talk to each other about it, so that character is just able to pull off that terrible thing. And then once they've done the terrible thing, they get really upset because that person doesn't love them and terrible things have happened and now they're mourning that person. Like, this book is bad. Pretty much going into this, I knew that this was described as a romance, and I suppose it is, but only if you're talking about the old definition of romance, which is literally just like novel. This is bad and I didn't like it. My other 2.5 star read was Lady Macbeth. This one was really disappointing because this is not really a retelling of the story as we know it whatsoever. There's all these added elements that don't make any sense in the story to me personally, and I feel like the author should have just created a story that was sort of based around the same ideas but completely different characters, but that wouldn't sell as well now, would it? On to my 3.5 star reads, the first one being A Grim Reaper's Guide to Cheating Death. This is a sequel to A Grim Reaper's Guide to Catching a Killer, but it follows a completely different character, completely different circumstances, and I felt there were pacing issues, but overall I enjoyed it. My other 3.5 star read was A Lush and Seething Hell. This is a bind-up of 2 novellas by the same author, and they're both cosmic horror. On to my 4-star reads, the first one being a middle grade book called Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow. I really enjoyed this as the beginning of a series, to the point where I actually have the second book out as an audiobook from my library, so I'm looking forward to that. Next we have Time Loops and Meet Cutes, which takes place in Toronto, and it has to do with these 2 different women that happen to eat the same dumplings at a night market, and then the next day is the same day. And then the next day is still the same day, and they're just in this time loop over and over and over again until they figure out how to get out. Next we have Fake Dates and Mooncakes. Our main character in this one works for his aunt's restaurant. His parents are no longer in the picture, so he's living with his aunt, and he would really like to enter this mooncake festival in his mother's honor because they were supposed to do it together before she passed. Next we have Minor Feelings, which is a mixture of memoir and musing about different people who are or were Asian American and how that shaped their lives. Finally, for my 4-star reads, we have The Case of the Missing Maid. This is all about the very first female detective to work at a detective agency in Chicago in 1898, and she is tasked with finding a missing maid. It should be simple, but there's sabotage around every corner. On to my 4.5-star reads, the first one being Come to the Window. This one takes place in Nova Scotia in 1918, and there's a couple of big things happening. One, there's a woman who's been accused of killing her new husband on their wedding night, and two, a giant whale has washed up on the beach. How are these things connected? Read this book to find out. Next we have Sorrowland, and this one is just such a wild ride. This one falls into kind of the botanical horror aspect of things, because as we meet this character, she is running through the woods trying not to be caught by something, and then you realize quite quickly that her circumstances are even more dire than you think, and then it just keeps getting worse. After that, we have Red Shirts. This is about a group of people who have been assigned to a ship, and there's something weird about the ship. There's something called the narrative, which means that anybody in their position on away missions is usually the person to die. And they need to figure out why and to make it stop happening because they don't want to die. And finally, for my 4.5s, we have Tooth and Claw. This is about a dragon society that is very much like a Victorian era society in that there's certain social classes and hierarchies and religions, and it's all about this one particular dragon family who the patriarch has just died, and there's one person that wants to sue somebody about something that happened, and then there's 2 daughters that need to be wed off because they have very small dowries, so they don't know if that's going to work. It's a good time. On to my 5-star reads, the first one being Answers in the Pages. This is a middle grade book that's broken up into a few different sections. We're following a few different characters and then seeing how that intermingles, as well as getting passages from one of the books they're reading in class, which one of their mothers has decided nobody should be reading because there's a possibility that the 2 boy characters love each other. How they love each other is up to interpretation. And even if they love each other in the way that she's thinking, they should still be able to read this book. After that, we have The Corruption of Hollis Brown. This one takes place in a very desolate, small town area. And all I'm going to tell you is this is a ghost story with a very major twist. As for these last 2 books, both of them are memoirs or autobiographies. I actually don't know the difference between those 2 phrases. So if one of you does, please let me know down below. And I really struggled to rank them, but ultimately I decided the person that I'd heard of more prominently before gets to be the #1 spot. So penultimately, we have The Sun Does Shine by Anthony Ray Hinton. This is the memoir of a man who spent about 30 years in prison for something he didn't do. Why, yes, it did take place in the southern United States, and why, yes, he is a black man, so you can kind of understand how this happened. This was incredibly fascinating and passionate, and I really loved hearing it directly from Ray, so I highly recommend this book. As for my favorite book of the month, that was Vagabond by Tim Curry, who I absolutely adore. He also reads the audiobook, which is a complete delight when that happens. And he has some stories to tell, so I, again, very much recommend this one. As for Read Queer All Year, the prompt for February was Love is in the Air, so celebrating any different type of love. And there were 3 books in particular that I picked out that definitely had different types of love in them. We have The Case of the Missing Maid, Fake Dates and Mooncakes, and The Corruption of Hollis Brown. As for my bingo board from hell, I'm gonna scooch over because that graphic is a little bit wider than all the other graphics. This is what it looks like, and I already have one of the spots ticked off. And I'm doing super well when it comes to reading audiobooks because I listen to them while I'm walking, and one of the things I'm trying to do is every single day this year I need to go for an outside walk, which means I get to listen to my audiobook. And even though those walks only technically need to be 20 minutes to fulfill this challenge, more often than not they're longer than that. In fact, the other day I went for a 16-kilometer walk, which was just over 3 hours. So yeah, I'm getting through those books pretty quickly. Obviously, I'm most worried about the 40 before 40 books because that deadline comes up in April, and I am reading the 4th book in that cohort right now, so hopefully I will get that done in time. and then I'll worry about all the other things I need to do on this bingo board. As I said, if you want to hear me talk about any of these books, the links for the individual episodes that they appear in are down below. If you've read any of these or you now want to read any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!